Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to the program information session. We'll just begin in a few minutes here. But while everybody joins, please feel free to use the chat or the Q&A to tell us a little bit about yourself. You can put your name, where you're joining from, what brings you here today, why are you interested in taking this course. And yeah, we'll just begin in a minute. We have Sam from Toronto. Welcome. Beatrice from Montreal, Francisco from Toronto, Chris from Ottawa, a Canadian audience today. Halifax, I'm seeing. That's great. Somebody from Bangalore, Edmonton. Very nice. Very nice. Welcome, welcome, everybody. Okay. So yeah, feel free to keep, posting in the chat where you're coming from. And also, if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to post those, preferably in the Q&A, so it's easier for us to keep track of the questions, and we'll address all of them at the end of the presentation. Here today with me, we have Professor Walid Hijazi. Is a professor of economic analysis and policy at Rotman for Rotman Executive Programs. And my name is Jessica Cervi, and I'm here today as a moderator for Emeritus. Before we begin, let's go over the agenda for today. So, well, I'll give a little bit of an introduction about Rothman School of Management and what the goals of the school are. Next, we'll give you a little bit of a program overview, tell you a little bit what goes into the course and what to expect from the course. And I will be giving you an overview of the learning journey. Next, I will pass it on to Professor here to introduce himself and to go into details about the academic curriculum, so to talk into detail about what is covered during each module in the course. And he will also talk to you about some of the case studies that went into the design of this course. And I will take it back to explain a little bit who this course is designed for and the participant profile. We'll talk about the certificate, the financing options that we offer, and then we'll open the floor for Q&A. Okay, so let's start by introducing to you a little bit what is the Rotman School of Management. Rotman executive programs are the lead executive programs in Canada. They focus to empower leaders to drive transformations through specialized offerings and applications in today's business challenges. The programs that are designed at Rotman School of Management are for individuals that comes from different sectors, so leadership, management, human resources, governance, finance, etc., etc. But they all aim to form the individual, okay, towards facing today business challenges and how to overcome them. The school also works directly with organizations and senior executive around the globe to address unique challenges and opportunities by designing customized programs to help organizations and their leaders to achieve better business results. About the program overview, so what to expect at a high level in this course. We designed this course with a few key points in mind. So throughout the course, you will find knowledge checks. You can think of knowledge checks as typically multiple choice quizzes that are designed to quickly deepen your understanding of notions and concepts throughout the course. And these are typically interactive checkpoints that we placed throughout the program. You will also have a weekly office hour with a dedicated program leader. These office hours are not mandatory to attend, but it's a great opportunity for you to gain clarity and personalized guidance on the topics offered each week. We also have case studies and assignments. These are a little bit heavier, activities that we've placed throughout the course that are tailored to and focused for you to apply the AI concepts that you've learned throughout the course through real world business scenarios and hands-on tasks. We also have some quizzes. These are some quick activities to test your understanding and track your progress. You will also have access to expert faculty. We have here today Professor Ejazi with us, but you will learn from him and his colleagues about the applications of AI and how to apply it AI to overcome business challenges. And of course, you will have hands-on access and practice to AI tools and their platform to understand how to apply them to your business problem. Quickly about the learning journey. So the Generative AI for Business Driving Growth and Competitive Advantage program is designed over 6 weeks. It's an online course that blends strategic insights with applied AI thinking. And it's designed for business leaders and innovators that want to understand how to apply AI in the real world to across functions, use cases, and industries. Throughout the 6 modules of the course, you will start by building a foundational understanding of the different Gen AI technologies out there, when to use each technology depending on the field that you are or on the scope that you have, explore emerging business model, explore corporate governance and competitive strategy, and last but not least, how to safely deploy the AI solution that you design with a data-first, AI-forward mindset. Upon completion of the program, we will talk more about this later in today's webinar, but you will receive a verified digital certificate from the Rotman School of Management that will recognize that you passed the course and that you have understood the concept that we put in this program. I will pass it on now to Professor Ejazi here to introduce himself.
Thank you so much for that, Jessica, and welcome everybody. So my name is Walid Hijazi. I'm a professor at Rotman and also academic director of executive programs. So most of you know the University of Toronto and the Rotman School. We're a big school, and I'm going to start by congratulating you for being here today. You know, the emergence of AI and Gen AI is really changing the landscape. And this program is really meant to help people navigate these incredible opportunities, but challenges that may arise. Now, my name is Walid. I'm the top person in this. I don't like that picture, but nevertheless, I'm the academic director, but I also work together with Zesis Poulis, who's also a professor at the University of Toronto, and he was a student of Geoffrey Hinton. So I can ask you in a minute who Geoffrey Hinton is, but Kinjal, can I ask you to stop sharing for a minute? And I just want to say a few things and then share a few slides of my own. But, I just want everyone in the room to think about the following questions. What percentage of management jobs are filled before they're advertised? What percentage of management jobs? So if you can just put that into the chat, I just wonder what you're going to answer. So thank you so much, Christina. 70, 80% of, not 30%, Chris, that's way too low, but it's 70 to 80% of management jobs are filled before they're advertised. So what does that mean for you? What it means for you is two things. The first thing it means networking, which means people have to know who you are. If people don't know who you are, you won't be on that preferred list of people to get that position. Whether you're applying for the position or being promoted, same thing. People have to know who you are, networking, number one. Number two, is your personal brand. What do we mean by your personal brand? It's not just about meeting people and them knowing who you are. It's about what they think about you. And when you think about your personal brand, there's two pieces to that. The two pieces to the personal brand are one is the soft side, your ability to communicate, your ability to have empathy. This is what we call emotional intelligence. So that's the soft side of your personal brand. But the hard side of your personal brand is you got to know things. You have to know something about lots of topics. So when you have a coffee chat or a meeting and topics come up and you don't know anything about anything, you're in trouble. Now, when it comes to AI, this is the topic that's on everyone's mind. So I congratulate you for thinking about enrolling in this course, and I hope you do. And we put a huge effort into creating a program that helps personas like the people on this webinar help you better understand what the opportunities are when it comes to AI and Gen AI. That's the point of this. So I congratulate you. Now, what I'm going to do is just share a few slides because I have so much I want to say, but I'm just going to start us off here to talk about the program. Now, the world is changing. AI and Gen AI is being applied everywhere. What we have to do is we have to tool up. We have to learn as much as we can about the opportunities that come with AI, how best to deploy AI strategies within organizations, but also the risks associated with the widespread deployment of AI. So we have 6 modules here, and Jessica did a great job talking about the structure of the program. But the idea here is for us to help you navigate and understand these, what we call 6 pillars of really engaging with, understanding, taking advantage of, and dealing with the risks associated with generative AI. So module 1 is around what are the opportunities and the limitations. There was a big article in the Globe and Mail just a few weeks ago, one that said many companies are telling their employees to embrace AI, use it, but they're not seeing the productivity gains. There's another article in the Globe and Mail just last week that shows how the leading companies, when I say leading, I mean those companies are benefiting the most from AI, what their strategies are. And there's several companies profiled in that article that have told their employees, you either embrace AI, Gen AI, or you leave. And so this is the new world where the way we work is going to change. So what are the opportunities and limitations? You look at module 2 about AI and competitive advantage. And what is that all about? There's a fabulous book by someone by the name of Clayton Christensen called The Innovator's Dilemma. And they talk about how in periods of extensive disruption, how some of the leading companies fall behind. And the two very best examples of that are Kodak and Blockbuster. But there's many, many others. So what is competitive advantage? What does that mean? How does a company create a business and sustain it? But what does AI do to the competitive landscape? And what can companies do to embrace AI in a way to reinforce their competitive position in the market? Then, module 3 is really focused on business models and new revenue streams. So if you look out there, how are companies deploying AI? What are they doing to generate additional revenue, additional profitability? And just remember one important point. When you think about these new technologies, in this case, Gen AI, there's new revenue streams, but there's also reduced operating costs. Those are two sides. When you think about what happens when you embrace generative AI, we have lots of guest speakers that tell us as a change agent. So I'm a senior executive and I'm telling my employees, we're going to have a lot of productivity improvements when we embrace generative AI. So from the senior executive perspective, it's around profitability and productivity. But when you think of the employees, what are they thinking about? They're thinking, this is my job. So the question then becomes, how do you roll out generative AI in a way that reduces resistance? So that's a really important point. Then we talk about decision making with Gen AI, and we know a lot about what's called echo chambers and systemic biases and so on. We do understand that these large language models are trained on the real world, what has happened, and very often systematic biases that underlie a lot of the data that are involved in the real world. If we train our models based upon those real world experiences, then the decisions that can be made can sustain or reinforce biases that we have in society. And that's why what we have to do is be really cognizant of some of the limitations when you make decisions based upon these big, large language models. So this whole issue around risk, ethics, and corporate governance are so very important that we know there's things called biases, echo chambers, hallucinations, copyright, and just making decisions that just don't sit right with your stakeholders. And that's why governance is so very important. And then the final module is really around leading organizational transformation. And the whole idea is, okay, I'm a company. I can be a company of 10 people. I can be a company of 100 people. I can be a company of 100,000 people. I now see generative AI out there. What do I do? What are the steps I can take to successfully integrate it? Now, generative AI is not only for big companies. Small companies and SMEs can benefit from it. Governments are spending enormous amounts of money and effort. In fact, next week, I'm in Ottawa with the Crown Corporation, helping a government entity better understand how to integrate AI into their operations. So, what I'm going to say at the very beginning, congratulations for getting out of your comfort zone, thinking about taking this course. I really hope you do enroll in the course. There's a lot of material. I encourage you to lean in to learn as much as you can. Now, just remember, we live busy lives, and it's easy for your job to take over. But when you enroll in this program, try to learn as much as you can because it will only serve to help you. Now, I'm going to say a few more things. We have lots of programs, in-person programs, and the one thing that you'll learn in the first module with Professor Zesis is the following, is the difference between automation, so RPA, AI, Gen AI, and agentic AI. Not everybody knows what that is, but by the end of this program, you will. The worst possible thing you can do when you're done a program like this is go back to your boss or to your company and say, let's automate. When you look at automation, that's not AI. That's just automating. And so many people leave with this very limited view. The opportunities, the transformational opportunities that come from generative AI are absolutely remarkable, but we have to manage them appropriately. So, automation, predictive AI, generative AI, and agentic AI are progressions along a spectrum. And this is the first thing you will learn in the program. Now, I asked this question about Geoffrey Hinton, and someone knew exactly who that was and said the godfather of AI. He's a University of Toronto professor. And I have an article in the newspaper on Canada can't afford to be a fast follower. Even though the University of Toronto produces a lot of top talent when it comes to AI, Canadians are falling behind on adopting AI. That's why the urgency in programs like this are so very important because CEOs and senior executives are really starting to increase the amount of money they're putting into training people so Canada doesn't fall behind. But Geoffrey Hinton won the Nobel Prize. Zesis, the other professor that teaches the program with us, was Geoffrey Hinton's student. And Canadians, and I know there's people from around the world on this call, but are very humble people. And Geoffrey Hinton, they interviewed him in the New York Times, and he talked about, he's a very humble guy, what it is to feel to win the Nobel Prize. But there's two other Rotman professors that wrote these two books. And if you're going to read some books on AI, these are two phenomenal resources. And The Economist magazine from the UK said, if you're going to read a book on AI, this should be one of them. So these are very, very good books, but this just tells you that the University of Toronto and Rotman is heavily engaged in AI. Now, I have a big question and I want people to put the answer in the chat. Okay. So I know everybody on this call, I hope everybody on this call has played with Chat GPT or Copilot. It's just unbelievable how effective these things are. You know, um, couple things, something like something like 10%, so 1 in 10 prompts. So when you ask ChatGPT a question or Copilot, 1 in 10 of these prompts have employees disclosing confidential information. So these are risks associated with using these large language models. So that's why companies are very cautious on deploying them. So some companies, at least three of the big banks in Canada, have banned nobody below vice president can use AI at all in their day-to-day job. But increasingly, companies are realizing that that's not a winning strategy. And so what we are doing is we're seeing companies in a big way roll out AI. Now, this is a famous quote. This is a famous quote in this world. I wish it were my quote, but it's not. AI will not replace you. People using AI will. And that's such an important point. And I want to use that to motivate you to really take this program, but also to lean in, to learn as much as you can. Now, I have so much more to say, but we'll save that for the actual program. But there was big news that came out. And I have a question and I want people to answer. There's big news that came out. This is from August 7th. So just from 2 weeks ago. ChatGPT 5 released its newest iteration. And look what it says. I mean, this just kind of scares me. It is a unified system that knows when to respond quickly and when to think longer to provide expert level responses. Extended reasoning for even more comprehensive and accurate answers. And this confirms the statement that as good as ChatGPT and Copilot and these other languages are, these are the worst models you're going to see because they're only getting better and better. Now, I showed you this slide and I'm going to ask a question. This says that AI will not replace you, but people using AI will. But given that these new models are so good, does that make this statement more or less true? What do you think? Put the answer in the chat. Does that make this statement more or less true? So I've got a more true, I've got a less true, I've got a more, less, so I've got a mixed answer. Here, here is my, thank you so much, everybody. Jessica, I wish we could actually see who said more and who said less, right? Here's the thing. There's two things I want to say. One, prompt engineering really matters. But number two, because these models are getting so much better, the gap the gap between those people that use it and those people that don't is just going to grow, which means you better be one of the people that's using it. You better not be one of the people that's not using it. So, what I would say about this new innovation is that you have to embrace generative AI. You have to learn as much as you can and go back to our comment at the beginning about getting these positions or future proofing your career. Embrace generative AI, understand as much as you can, and then try to think about what it means for your industry and your company. So, Jessica, I have a lot more to say, but I think I'll stop there because I know you have some more to cover, and I'll go back to you, Jessica.
Thank you. Yes, Professor, why don't you tell us a little bit about the hands-on applications and case studies that the learners will see in the course?
Thank you so much, Jessica. So, there are so many case studies that we review. And one of the things about the Rotman School of Management, from a research perspective, we rank fourth in North America. So lots of research. But that doesn't matter so much for you. For you, when you take these kinds of programs, what you really want to think about is how do I take the learnings from the program and deploy them in the real world? And so we go through several examples across so many different sectors to think about case studies and how the learnings that you have absorbed during the program, how they're actually deployed in the real world. And you can see what works and what doesn't work. So here are examples of case studies that we will work on. But just remember, when you do your try it your own activities, you will be thinking about applying these lessons in your own world, in your own context. So think about Goldman Sachs that developed an AI assistant that analyzes financial data, enhancing decision making while enabling professionals to focus on strategy. You think about that one. I'm currently working with another financial institution, and the portfolio managers have to go through all of this data and put together a synopsis, write up a PowerPoint, and go out and present it. And you think about how much time they're spending looking for data, putting it into Excel, doing the analysis, identifying what's changed, coming up with investor and stakeholder sentiment. This would take hours and hours and hours. Now, financial institutions, what they're able to do is they're able to use these large language models to go out there and come up with a baseline. Now, I have a question for everybody, right? Think about this picture: the real world, the internet, all of this data. Then there's this large language model, call it ChatGPT, and then there's business decisions. What's wrong with that picture? Big data, the real world, large language model. So Goldman Sachs takes all of this data from the real world, puts it through a large language model, and kicks out a decision. What's wrong with that? Anyone? Put it in the chat. Okay. Culture. The challenge with that is there has to be a human in the loop. So it might not be correct. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Alexandra. Vulnerable to bias. The idea is there has to be a human in the loop. So this idea that I'm going to take all the data in the world, the internet. Thank you, Stella, missing the human element. Put it through this large language model, this black box. And then if the business, no, what it does is it gives you the platform. So when you go back to Goldman Sachs, it really helps decision makers be more efficient and more effective. You think about Morgan Stanley and you think about what do companies do to embrace AI? So Zesis will go through all of the opportunities, but the idea that somehow you're going to build your own large language model, no way. You're going to work with a provider like ChatGPT or like Copilot or like one of the others to create a custom version for your organization. So what's going to happen is you'll take one of these large language models, you'll firewall it So the idea is that when your employees use these large language models for queries, those queries and the answers aren't going into the cloud. They're actually firewalled, so they're part of your own organization. So what can happen is you partner with these companies in order to create these solutions. And you think about Pfizer, another great example. I mean, one of the first things we talk about in the program is how many tens or hundreds of millions or billions of dollars it takes to generate new drugs. It's unbelievable how costly and time intensive it is. So 2 years ago is the first time that a drug was developed on an open platform with generative AI, and it took 18 months and less than $5 million. The other point I want to make about this is there's a company that has a machine that scans your face. So you take this piece of equipment and it just scans your face, and it's able from that scan to tell you your blood sugar, your stress, your blood pressure, your age. It tells you 30 things about you. It's unbelievable. All off of AI, Gen AI. But there's a big difference between health and wellness and clinical. What is the difference? Health and wellness is, well, I just do this and it tells me something, but I'm not going to go take medication based off of that analysis because it's health and wellness, it's not clinical. This year is the first time a cancer drug was developed with AI that got FDA approval, which means it's clinical. So these Pfizer examples really is around, automating these, when you think about rolling out these drugs and trying to get drug approvals, really help the whole process to identify where the challenges may be to mitigate them before they arrive. And then, the other one I just want to bring up is NVIDIA. And and Jessica, can I share a video? May I? Very quickly? Okay. I just want to show the class this one video. And I don't want that. I want this here. And you think about what NVIDIA is doing in autonomous vehicles. We know autonomous vehicles are coming. So I just want to ask the class, what would you do? So you're driving your car, you're in control, as distinct from you're on the autonomous feature, and the AI makes the decision. What would you do? So look at this car. It's on its self-driving function, and you're going to see a man trip and fall. He's going to fall in front of the car. What would you do if you were doing it as opposed to the AI? So look here. Look what happens. The man falls. What would you do? So put in the chat. Would you hit the old man, or would you go into the other lane and cause a big accident? No, Keith, Chris, cheap answers. No, stopping is not an option. You gotta, right? So the thing is, what do you do? And so you can stop sharing. I'll stop sharing here. And here's the point I want to make about this is I've asked this question and showed this video in over 25 countries. The answers you get are very different because they depend on culture. But here's what I want to ask you. Here's what I want to ask you. Everybody's trying to take the cheap answer to say you have to take one or the other. There's no other way out. There's no time. Here's the point. Who do you want to make that decision in the AI? Do you want it to be the programmers at these large language models in California and Texas? Or do you want it to be your local governments? Or do you want it to be you? And the last thing that comes from this is when you make these accidents, who's legally liable when you think about insurance? So all of these case studies, and this is just a limited number of them, really allow you to take all of the learnings you get from the program and from what we know about AI and Gen AI and apply them in a real world example to understand what works, but equally important, what doesn't work. I'll come back to you, Jessica.
Thank you. Very insightful, and thank you, Professor, for providing us with your insights and opinions on Gen AI. Very, very interesting, and what the course covers as well. I'll take it on from now on, and we'll cover next the participant profile. So on this slide, we have a few examples of who this program is designed for. This program is not a technical course, okay, but it is designed for senior leaders or strategies that want to understand how to harness and use at their best the power that Gen AI can give us to drive business transformation. Uh, this course is designed, for example, for C-suite executives and leaders that want to drive AI-powered business strategies and innovation and leverage natural language processing and also understand better what goes on in the world of AI. It's also very suited for vice presidents, heads, and director of different sectors and industries, such as marketing, finance, operations, HR. This program is designed to teach you about transformation, innovation, AI deployment, data strategy, and how to identify a strategy, how to Gen AI can be used to address the challenges and how to identify market disruption and creating profitable AI-driven models. Finally, this course is also suited for entrepreneurs and founders that wants to explore how to scale Gen AI opportunities, how to fit them well within their business model, and how to monetize AI-powered solutions. Upon completion of the program, you will receive, as I mentioned earlier, a digital certificate from Rotman School of Management. This certificate will have your name and will attest that you have completed the program successfully. And it's in digital format, meaning that you won't receive, obviously, a physical copy, but you will be able to embed this certificate on your LinkedIn profile, for example, or your resume for easy access. On to the next steps now. So we do offer some financing options. So whether you're planning on taking this course by yourself or with a group of people, or you want to perhaps take advantage of some employment sponsorship, we do have financing options for all of those situations. And you can apply to the program by scanning the QR code that you see on this slide. We will also be making the slides available to you upon completion of this webinar today, so you will have access to all of these information. And finally, if you have, we'll open the floor for Q&A in just a minute here. But if you're still not sure whether this program is right for you, or you have very specific questions depending on your case, we encourage you to schedule a call with one of our advisors. You will have the opportunity to speak one-on-one with him or her about whether this program is right for you and what expectations we have. And finally, we encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn for more updates. And we'll try and go through the chat. I think that the chat was a lot of answers to the professor's questions throughout the webinar, but I did see a couple of Q&A. Chris is asking, given the meteoric speed of change in AI innovation, how will this course future-proof us?
Do you want me to answer that? Here's the point. I mean, that's such a great question, which elevates the importance of this program. The idea that, because things are changing, I'm going to wait, you just fall further and further behind. What does the program do? It gives you the terminology, the vocabulary, understand the paradigms. It really gives you the foundation to understand what AI and Gen AI are. And as this thing continues to evolve, this is not a one and done, meaning that it's not as if you're going to take this course, take your certificate, put it on LinkedIn, and now I'm future-proofed for life. What this does is level sets you. It brings you up to date. And I would say, even though things are changing, a lot of the fundamentals that you get from this program will continue to resonate going forward. The idea that it's a period of significant disruption, the idea that these algorithms are able to do things that humans used to do, that's just getting better. But the fundamental theme is what you get from this program. So I would argue the question that you asked makes taking this program even more important because if you don't, you're just going to fall further and further behind. Back to you, Jessica.
Yes, the next question is more content focused. Do you cover security around handling sensitive business information?
Yes, we do. So we do talk about that. I wouldn't say it's an extensive part of the program, but one thing that we do talk about in the program is ensuring that your people are trained. Because for those of you in security, there's the three pillars: people, process, and technology. We've got the technology for security. We've got the processes to ensure that if people follow those processes, that you're going to be secure, your data integrity will be maintained. But the other one is people. And the idea is that, most hacks, most cybersecurity hacks are driven by people responding to, for example, phishing attacks and so on. So when you think about generative AI and cloning, the whole idea about phishing attacks are going to be much more effective. So it's all around training. So it's not a big part of the program, but it is something that we talk about to say that it's something to consider. Now, the one point I do want to make about this really good question is many companies have put a filter on the prompts you can give Gen AI. What does that mean? If I'm going to put a prompt to ask Gen AI or ChatGPT or Copilot or something a question, it companies will put a filter to make sure that you can't put sensitive data up there. What our evidence shows is that often people do it anyway. They just won't do it on the company platform. That is why training people is so very important. What a great question. Thank you for that. Back to you, Jessica.
Yes, and thank you so much. Are the program intakes available on the site? I think I can answer this question. If you have any curiosity about next launches of the course, because you can take the course, in the next few weeks or next months, we do encourage you to follow us on LinkedIn or visit the course websites and the Emeritus websites where we will announce when the next run will launch. Brian is asking if the course touches on innovation and subject matter expert rather than focus on large corporations. Um, or small,
Innovation,
medium. Yeah, sorry, yes, yes.
yeah. That's another phenomenal question. And we talk a lot about innovation. Our case studies predominantly are larger companies, so people can relate to them. But it's such a great question. And the way we've addressed that in the design of the program is when we have the try it activities, which Jessica talked about. When you have those try it activities where you really try to internalize, we ask you to deploy those in your own context. So that's really where you could think about innovation within SMEs or smaller companies. So the direct answer to your question is, even though many of the examples we use are for bigger companies, the learnings apply to SMEs as well. What a great question.
And Chris is asking if we can comment on how this can be beneficial, if this program can be beneficial to government or for nonprofit organizations.
Without question. I mean, this here is not I mean, you think about governments and not-for-profits, especially for not-for-profits. For those of you in the not-for-profit space, you can see how funding in the not-for-profit space is really, really getting squeezed. I had a meeting last week at Rotman with an agency from the United Nations, and you think globally how money for economic aid has been cut. It's having a huge impact on the not-for-profit sector. You think about deploying AI and Gen AI. is becoming more important for not-for-profits, something that we talk about, because you think about how do I engage with potential donors? How can AI or Gen AI help me? Think about recruiting the right people. So there's no question in government, as I said, next week I'm in Ottawa at a Crown Corporation helping them. The learnings and the lessons that come from this program apply to not-for-profits, to government, and to corporations. They also apply to large and small companies. But you got to remember, the one thing you'll learn in the strategy session is if you try to do everything for everybody, you don't have a strategy. So I'm not going to promise that the program has extensive coverage for everything. But one thing I will say is the learnings apply to all sectors and the learnings apply to large and small companies. Back to you, Jessica.
Yes, David is asking how many exams are in the course. I think I can address that. There is not a final exam to pass the course. Each week is structured in a similar format. So you will have, quizzes, hands-on activities, knowledge checks, and at the end of each week, there will be an assignments, and all of those activities will contribute to your final grade. Another question was you mentioned governance and ethics. Is the course touching on legal issues or changes directing or changes?
We do raise it, but there's not extensive coverage of it. So I mean, another phenomenal question about ethics. Ethics is a big part. We talk a lot about ethics. We talk a lot about governance. What's the role of the board in setting the guardrails? We talk about those issues there. When you think about legal and changes in the legal system, it's not something we talk about. What I will say is technology usually leads and the legal system catches up with it. So that's my answer. But just another point I want to make, because I think it's such a great question. We had a big debate at Rotman. Can the big tech companies be trusted to regulate AI? Why don't you put your answers in the chat? I want to hear what people say. Can we trust the big companies to regulate AI? Yes or no? Okay. So there you go. Oh no. Okay. So there you go. So we had this debate and everybody in the audience voted and roughly 78% said no. 22% said yes. So 78% said no, 22% said yes. We then had the debate and then we voted again. And when we voted again, something like 90% said no, and 10% said yes. And the 10% said yes are just the people that work for the big tech companies. So we need the legal system to catch up. It's not something we cover in the program other than mentioning it. Back to you, Jessica.
Thank you. We will learn how to put true ROI to any given company AI project, true ROI and true business outcomes.
No, that's another great question. And it's incredible that one of the biggest barriers to rolling out generally IT systems is being able to come up with a business case and showing what the ROI is expected to be. So I know a finance person asked that question. It's a great question. What we focus on is ensuring that the the generative AI solution that you integrate is aligned with the organizational strategy and brings business value. That's a big part of the program. But in terms of actually calculating the ROI, we don't do that in this program. No.
Is there an opportunity to leverage a current initiative at our firm during the course so we can potentially apply what we learn in the course to their project?
Whoever asked that question should join us and be part of our team because that's a great question. That's exactly what we want. Yes. And when we have the triad activities, what we want you to do is to go back to your organization and think about all of this stuff I'm learning. How could it help my company? How could it help me become more effective, more successful? So the answer to that question is absolutely yes. What a great question. And you should quit your job and come join us at Rotman in designing programs. Great question.
It's really, like by taking this course, you can like create a roadmap where you can apply the Gen AI courses to your business. Please let us know how beneficial could this course be for a trading business, and also, are we learning how to use AI tools in business or organizations?
The answer is yes. But who asked that question? I have a question for them.
Anonymous.
Anonymous. So here's my question. Here's my question. And I went to a big bank, and one of the senior executives from that bank is on this call. And we talked about AI and using AI in the trading business. And here's my question to the anonymous person that asked that question. Here's my question. I'm a day trader. So what do day traders do? They actually sit there and they have a budget and they buy and sell stocks trying to beat the market, whatever. So my name is Waleed, and I have a particular knack for understanding the European market or the pharmaceutical industry or whatever my niche is. So now what happens is this information gets released. Because I'm a day trader, I'm looking at and I have a knack for the pharmaceutical industry in Europe. So I trade on that information and I'm able to make money. Day traders. Now that we have Gen AI, now what happens is everybody that's day trading has access to this information at the same time. What happens to my knack? What happens to my ability to understand in real time what that's going to do to the financial market? So, Mr. or Mrs. Anonymous, does generative AI make day traders more or less successful? Is Anonymous going to respond?
Who knows?
Okay. That's a good question because this is something we do talk about. And the idea is if other people are using generative AI, then you better be using it too, because the productivity or the efficiency of the people using it is going to grow relative to the people that don't. And that's why in finance, especially in day trading, just doing the analysis is really, really helpful in helping you become much, much more effective. So it's great. Jessica, you have an incredibly good group on here. They're asking tough questions.
They are, and it's good to see that they're engaged and curious. You know, yeah, we do have a few more minutes here. I think we have exhausted the questions for now. But we can stay online a little bit longer and see if anything else comes in.
If I can just say one more thing, and you're sharing for the QR code, but the one thing I want to say is the trend in executive education. There's the number of people doing degree programs like MBA and executive is going down. And people are enrolling in what we call these micro credentials. I really want to congratulate you because it's not only just about continuing to work. Lifelong learning is so, so very important. And we know the importance of AI and Gen AI. We know how it's transforming industries. And there's a slide I have which I didn't show, but the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, estimates that 60%, 60% of jobs in the developed world, so in North America and Europe, 60% of those jobs are going to be impacted, half of them negatively. So you have to decide what side of that equation you want to be on. And being oblivious to these is not a winning strategy. Or as they say, hope is not a strategy. So taking a program like this is so very important. Lean in, learn as much as you can, but please don't think that once you get this certificate that Jessica talked about and posted on LinkedIn, that you're done. It's a fast evolving industry, and the longer you wait, the more you fall behind. So I congratulate you for stepping out of your comfort zone and thinking about this program. and I really, really hope you enroll. It'll be to your benefit, and I'll see you online again at some point in the future. Back to you, Jessica.
Thank you. I think we have one last minute question that we partially answered, but Shauna is asking if this course is, if there is any technical aspects or if it's more strategic and conceptual.
It's more strategic and conceptual. It's not technical at all, but it's a so Sean, great question because it's not technical. It's strategic, not technical. It's meant to think about what do these new technologies mean for you and for the business. That's what it's about. Now, having said that, some people like to dig deeper into the technical, but that's not part of the program. Jessica, back to you.
Right. No, I think that answers the question. And I think that we are at time almost. So yes, I want to start saying thank you everybody for joining today and thank everybody for the insightful questions that you have provided. Of course, thank you to Professor Ajazi for being here with us today. It was a great, great pleasure to have you here with us today to give us an overview of the course and to give us a little bit of an insight of the world of Gen AI and its potential to business applications. I'm just going over the Q&A one more time. I think that they're just observations or, everybody's saying their farewells for today. So
Bye,
yes,
everyone.
thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Back to you, Professor, in case you want to say something to say goodbye.
No, thank you. And what great, great questions. And the other thing I want to say is it's great to have smart people in the class because we learn from each other. It's not just one way. So there's lots of opportunities in the program for peer learning. And I can see from the people in this webinar, there'll be lots of peer learning as well. So thanks, everybody. I hope to see you again soon. And thank you, Jessica, for being an amazing moderator.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good rest of your day. I hope to see you in the course. Bye.
Bye.